That's right, back time.
There's always just that active when that defenders are being given, like. There's always just that active when that defenders are being given, like. There's always just that active when that defenders are being given, like.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Just as Ian Wright said there, take two. Just as Ian Wright said there, that's how I sound. People deluded, I'm back again. As usual, whether you're on Twitch or YouTube, appreciative of you lot tuned in. If you haven't smashed the like button on YouTube, then what are you doing? Twitch gang, shortly after this, we'll be playing FM. But yeah, man, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and in some cases, good night. Big up you lot for being tuned in. Unfortunately, just when the Premier League is heating up, just when we've regained 3 points and back to being 3-point debt collectors, them lot down the road lost, cool pest control. Wolves dealt with them, and certain teams got more draws than nines, but anytime they draw against a top 6 side, they're the best thing since sliced bread. So just as the Premier League's heating up, the international break has put a stop to things, which it feels like we said this the last international break, but in light with Arsenal's injuries and our struggles in that regard, some quote-unquote time off is valid. Throughout the course of this live stream, we're going to look at the quote-unquote transfer rumours and stuff. We're going to see what Mikel Arteta said in the aftermath of the Burnley game and see what's going on where Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard are concerned. Again, smash the like button, comment any thoughts. If you've got any questions, you know what to do. It's an all-inclusive platform. Man said start to quit walk. Yes, after the last video. Hey, big up you lot, man. Terry, 2-3, etc. Appreciative to have you lot tuned in as usual, folks. But yeah, man, let's get into why we're actually here. Let's start with Mikel. Let's start with not the boring part, but the boring part. Let's start with every word from Mikel Arteta's post-Burnley press conference on Vieira's red card and the result. I didn't see Fabio Vieira's red card. I have to look at it again. I can't comment personally on it. Word to Wenger. I'm really happy with the result, especially with the performance after playing 72 hours ago, with the last 3 games, how we played against Newcastle, how we played against Sevilla, how we played today, how dominant we were against teams who are very hard to dominate, the amount of situations that we dominated. I think we fully deserve to win the game. I agree, manager. With the red card, yes, thanks for asking me. VAR was right. The ref was right. Really good decision. Really positive from Mikel to speak about that. Good decision. Not sure what that means, but yeah, if only they, Bruno Gomares and Kovacic, boy, really struggling to find consistencies. I don't think Vieira can complain. Obviously, it's annoying now because, forgive me if I'm wrong, Fabio's out for 3 games now after the international break. We've got Brentford. As you know, injuries are a problem for Arsenal Football Club at this moment in time, and midfield really and truly. So it is what it is. Big up DG. When's that under-17s World Cup Twitch stream coming? Big up you. I think England are playing tomorrow at 12 p.m. really. So yeah, we'll do that tomorrow really. So yeah, man. If you care about under-17s football, which I obviously do, tomorrow kickoff is at 12. We'll be live shortly before that. So why not? I'm pretty sure England are playing tomorrow. I think that's their second group stage game. By the end of the week, the group stages should kind of be done. And there's some decent players. I think Mali's got some good players. Brazil, the Brazil-Iran game, Iran pulled up a shocker, but the Brazilians, the Argentines, the Spanish, England, they're always going to have strong teams. I've been really impressed with Mali. I even think Indonesia got 1-2 players as well, people. So yeah, man, on how important it is to maintain our momentum, people. This is what this team does. We play in the best possible way. We give absolutely everything to win games, to earn it. When the opponent is better, we just congratulate them. I think we've been better in the last 3 games than the opponent, and we deserve to be in the position where we are. Were we really better than Newcastle? I believe yes and no. Obviously, in football's a funny old game. Sometimes you deserve to lose and you get 3 points. Sometimes you draw when you don't deserve anything, and sometimes you win when you don't. I do think we were better than Newcastle, but we weren't. They took the chances that we didn't, and we didn't create anything really. So Yeah, man, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's not necessarily true. So yeah, people, obviously the gaffer said we're in a strong position going into this international break, and obviously it's going to give us momentum. He has also said we have 8 players not available. That's a lot. And in December, we have 11 games coming up, so we better get everybody back quickly. And for Edu, you need to start cashing checks and starting to talk with agents. We need a central midfielder as a bare minimum in January, man. Big up yourself, blood type and K. Fabio was on BS before that, taking 5 minutes on the floor. That's the thing with Fabio Vieira, man. Like, I like him. I do think he goes through really good couple of games or spells of form, but we just need greater consistency and greater dominance. Obviously, the red card's the red card. He's going to have to hold his hands up. And I feel sorry for Smith Rowe with the injuries we're seeing in central midfield and Kai Havertz's inconsistencies. There could have been an opportunity for Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe to get more game time. You know, Partey and El Nene. Partey's injured. El Nene and Jorginho can't play every game. Declan Rice is the only permanent fixture. Martin Odegaard's, nursing a knock as well. So yeah, man, it is a bit of pill to swallow, and already a depleted bench is going to be even more depleted. I don't think anyone could disagree with Arteta there. Big up Zinchenko because he had a great performance against Burnley defensively, and obviously that karate kick of a goal. What a goal. Potentially, I won't quite say Arsenal's goal of the season, but it's up there. It deserves to be highlighted. So far, I'm probably missing some. I think Saka against Nottingham Forest, early contender. Eddie Nketiah, Sheffield United, early contender. Zinchenko's up there. There's probably a couple of other great finishes as well. But nonetheless, I was very happy with him, especially against these teams. The fluidity and threat he gives, the way he progresses the ball, the spaces that he occupies and gets available for other teams, I think is critical. His defending part, I really like today. First time I've seen the gaffer specifically praise Zinchenko's defending, how committed he was in every defending action. The goal he scored is a really good example of how he's living the game when the ball is far from him. That's why he's first on the ball. That's why he scores the goal. So that's what we need from him. On Trossard scoring our 1,000th goal at the Emirates, you have to put your body over the line. It's necessary, and he's done it. And it's the 1,000th goal at the Emirates Stadium, a beautiful number. So I'm really happy with him. Big up Trossard, man. Again, I do think there's games where we're going to need probably Eddie to start as a striker, but for me, for the foreseeable future, it has to be Trossard playing as a striker, really and truly. Trossard, Saka, Martinelli, there's a lot better link-up play than when Eddie's there. There's a lot more fluidity. It's a lot more dynamic. We look a lot more threatening. And I feel sorry for Trossard, because if Jesus and Odegaard miraculously are fit tomorrow, then for me, they're back into the starting lineup. And you'd imagine behind Odegaard, you'd have Jorginho and Rice still. But for me, I don't think Trossard deserves to be dropped, at least until he drops a clanger. I still think Saka and Martinelli need to start. If Jesus is fit, he starts. Could you potentially move Trossard into that 10 and put Odegaard as an 8 next to Declan Rice? I don't know, but I don't think Trossard needs to be dropped, and we need to ride this momentum that Trossard is on. He's playing good. He's doing his thing. So yeah, big up Trossard, man. He can play in a number of roles. Quality player, really. Apparently, Jesus has gone to Brazil duty, so next match Trossard is benched. Hopefully, there's no setbacks with Jesus. How fit is he? And when I read the comments on another live stream, like the manager of Brazil, it seems like obviously they must know Jesus' status to a degree, but it seems like he just wants him to be part of the squad. I don't know if that's for togetherness reasons. I don't know, but it seems like he wants him there regardless, and he kind of alluded to, I'm not calling up no one else regardless, so we'll have to watch that. On Benjamin White, because speaking of injuries, it's never nice to hear. Oh, do you know what? You're right. Gabriel Jesus against Sevilla is up there. Gabriel Jesus against PSV is up there to go with Eddie Nketiah's banger and Saka's banger and probably Zinchenko. We scored some decent ones. I mean, for me, I'm always going to be biased towards, screamers, but there might be some great teamwork goals that I'm forgetting that probably are contenders as well. Eddie Nketiah goal as well. Martinelli skill. Martinelli didn't beat it, but let's run the agendas, man. It's because the Brazil manager has a very specific way of playing, so he wants to teach the people, which is true. But I mean, Jesus can take part maybe in training. He can take part in the analysis, but playing, boy, I don't know. It seems like, I don't know about now, but it seems like Brazil's national team and Arsenal have a good relationship. Obviously, Edu is Brazilian and stuff like that, but he's worked with the Brazilian FA. So maybe this could strain the relationship. On Benjamin White, yesterday in training, he wasn't comfortable. He didn't look right, but Ben won't give you much. He always wants to be on the pitch and always wants to hide anything that is in there. So it seems like Benjamin White needed saving from himself. But we highlighted it. We noticed it in the last few weeks as well, something in there. So he's been playing with a knock, like Saka, like Odegaard, like Jesus, and many a player. And we wanted to protect him today. It was the right call from the physios and the medical department. And tomorrow we'll assess him and understand what's happening. On Jesus' chemistry with his teammates, that's the word. I think that he connects everyone, Man said Jesus Trossard, sorry. He's intelligent. He moves into spaces in the way that attracts people and generates space and options for people. And today he's done it really well because it was very difficult as the spaces were so smooth to attack. And he gives us a lot of threat and possibilities to connect and find spaces for us. As I said, I think there's going to be times where Eddie Nketiah is going to need to play. But I also, obviously, Trossard is scoring, he's assisting, he's doing what he needs to do. But for me, it's also about affecting the game when you're not doing any of that. And Trossard is more of a potent threat, more of a consistent player throughout 90 minutes than Eddie Nketiah. I'm not trying to knock Eddie Nketiah. I actually think his general play has improved, but you have to accept the player for what he is. He's not that. And I think at this climate, currently where Arsenal are at, we need players like this. And sometimes across the season, like Trossard, unfortunately, you wish you could play with 12 players. He's not one of the first names on the team sheet. But I also believe when a player is in a decent patch of form, you have to ride that momentum. You know, we kind of did it with Eddie Nketiah and Fabio Vieira towards the start of the season. And I kind of think it's now Trossard's time. Obviously, Tomiyasu's coming to the side and whatnot. And, you know, Timber would have, you know, been an example. Unfortunately, he was injured in the first game. But yeah, the chemistry is better. The potency that Trossard has, you know, first half, he's more playing as a traditional striker. Second half, he's pulling out wide, but he's affecting the game. And Trossard, I can't lie, man. After training, Bukayo Saka and Martinelli, you lot need to stay and learn how to finish with Trossard, and you need to know how to take crosses because how to take corners. Sorry, because it was refreshing that there's a level of consistency with Trossard's delivery from set pieces, which, you know, we're normally set piece FC. I think in the last few games we haven't always looked threatening, but it was nice to indirectly score 2 goals. Yeah, I'm sure 2 of our goals came as a result of a corner. Saliba definitely was one, and Zinchenko's one, really. So it was nice to see that. On Jorginho's injury, whoa, boy. Well, we had a few bad cuts, I think, which they couldn't sort out on the pitch. So we decided to take him out, but hopefully he's fine. I think he was really good again today. I think Jorginho was good, but I don't think he was connecting as much in midfield as he could or as he did in the week against who do we play in the week? Sevilla at home in the Champs. The way this guy is competing, coaching, and supporting the team in any way he can makes me really happy. Big him up for that. Obviously, Jorginho's been called up into the Italian team, which, you know, we kind of need to. I'm even a bit nervous about Jorginho because we're really in trouble if you get injured. On the determination Trossard showed, obviously, with his goal that he scored, he's a brave lad. Go and be consistent and go and try to force errors and force mistakes and take orders to go again. And the team in the last 2 or 3 games has been so much more courageous in that sense. And today, so many times in the final third, we sustained attacks in spaces and it becomes really difficult for the opponent. On our 2 goals from set pieces, we have big lads. Willie, Saliba has a real presence. Patted up the terminology, my guy. He hasn't yet shown this skill consistently. We are working with him because he can be much more dominant, and the goal today is a real example of that. So credit to all the coaches and for him for the work that they are doing. We are the team that needs more set pieces as teams defend really low against us and really prevent spaces. So it's a good way for us to score as well. On Odegaard's fitness, I don't know. I'm going to have a meeting now with the medical department to understand everyone's situation, and I think he's going back after the international break, but I don't know exactly what the decision and the communication at the moment. On Tomiyasu's performance and fitness, only in his eye, he has a problem with his lens, but the rest, he was top, a really good performance. I hope he's all right with his sight. You don't want to lose your sight. Tomiyasu wear contact lenses. If he does, I don't know. I assume he said lenses. So yeah, I never knew that. I wonder how many footballers actually do that. I have a feeling Benjamin White wears them, but I don't know people. Smash the like button and keep your thoughts coming. On our position in the table, personally, I don't look at the league table. I don't know where we are. We just need to keep working very hard to see where we're at in May. I prefer to be at the top, but this is what we have to do. We have shown a lot of consistency, both in the way that we are playing and competing, and as well in the terms of results. So let's carry on. We've got some momentum now. And as I said, we've got some players back. Let's go again. Finally, he said, sunshine. I'm not sure, as I'm probably going to stay in London, so I doubt the sunshine, but I'm sure I'll have some really beautiful family time and friends and enjoy a few days off for sure. True Arteta, but knowing Arteta and what I see of him, I can't imagine that's going to be the case. He's going to be planning. Pep Guardiola allegedly has taken a slight dig at us. So for me, it's refreshing because he's not little broing us anymore. You know, again, when Pep gasses you up as much as he was last season, we're a great side. Arteta's great, this, that, the other. I don't think he's wrong, but you don't see us as a threat. You don't really rate us. And granted, City shouldn't really per se see us as a threat or anyone in this league, but it's refreshing if he sent sly digs at us, but I don't know exactly what he said. Let's actually find out. Specifically, he said, on the crazy 4-4 draw between Chelsea and City. They're a really good team, so there's no doubt Liverpool couldn't win. They were much, much better than Arsenal, and in the end, Arsenal drew. So you know it's Chelsea. They won't go away. I always have to think about what we can do to get better. It's not going to happen that we come here and win 7-0. They're trying to rebuild. We have no complaints. Fair enough. We go into the break at the top of the table. I didn't expect that after the Arsenal defeat. The games are really tough. Pep is a capper. You knew you was going to return to the top. I can't disagree because we were poor for 45 minutes. In that first 45 minutes against Chelsea, some of the worst football I've seen my football club play this season. Fortunately, we got a draw. I do wonder, had we have turned up, could we have done a thing? Chelsea seem to be saving their best for the big games. You know, to be honest, they drew against Chelsea. I mean, how can they draw against themselves? They drew against City, they drew against us, they drew against Liverpool. That is something to build upon. You know, maybe for Chelsea fans, that shows you your team in a positive or negative sense puts in a matching performance to the opponents, because in the big games, they've been good. In the little games, they've dropped points. But I've never seen a fan base, especially one that's won like Chelsea and done what Chelsea have done, celebrate draws in this aspect, really. But fair enough, man. It is what it is in that regard. Appreciate you, Desmond. Smith Rowe is a younger Englishman, so it makes sense he would cost more than Luiz. Brazil really got something wrong not starting Jesus and utilizing Martinelli for the World Cup. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board. I'm a Villa fan. No way are we selling him for 60 million. You wanted 70 for Smith Rowe. He's barely played in the league and injured consistently. Doggy, is that his nickname? Douglas Luiz is a Brazilian international. I mean, I don't imagine we can get 60 million for Smith Rowe, and I do agree with you if we are to get Douglas Luiz, you have to overpay. I don't think he's a terrible player. I'm having him at Arsenal, but 70, 60 million, I think is overpriced. But at the end of the day, if he signs for that money and he does his job great, I don't really buy the Douglas Luiz stuff. I mean, we tried to get him a few years ago in the summer, so there's obviously a level of interest. Apparently, Edu's a big fan of his. Arteta's a big fan of his. We've got an issue in midfield. He's Premier League proven. There's a lot to like about him. Brazil international, as you said. Age profile, he's young, relatively young and impressionable. But Villa would be silly to let him go for something that is too hard to turn down. You know, Villa are fighting for Europe. Emre's flying. They signed him down to a new deal last year. Unless he really kicks up a fuss, which I don't know him, he might, or Arsenal overspend, is what it is. But if we do want Douglas Luiz, by all means, aggressively go after him, but make sure you've got other profiles. This is why I don't really buy when we're linked with, you know, Ivan Toney, Pedro Neto, and now Douglas Luiz in particular, because you're going to have to overpay. In an ideal world, if we woke up and we signed all of those three players, how much is that? You see everything from 65 to 100 odd million for Ivan Toney. You're looking at, on the best of days, 55 to about 70 million, you know, in and around for Douglas Luiz. Pedro Neto, apparently they value him at 70. And as we know, players are not it's not really what a player's worth, it's what you can hustle. So if we spent all of that, you're looking at close to what we spent in the summer. Can I see us doing that in January? Is it necessarily value for money? Could you wait until the summer? For me, though, I would prefer us to go after Douglas Luiz or a central midfielder. I do want a striker. I do want a winger, as I said before, but there's more questions than answers in Arsenal's midfield. We're playing a dangerous game. Jorginho's been good, but with Jorginho, naturally, you're going to sign up for Chelsea away with him and Zinchenko. They're poor on the transition, or when he comes on against Spurs where there's too much space. In between that, he'll do all right and do his thing, but there's issues there. El Nene, I think there's a role for you, but you ain't played for about a year, and as I said, there's a role. Partey, a quality player, but if you're not able to step on the Emirates pitch or away from home, it's irrelevant. Declan Rice is the only one out of the men that are likely to be in the pivots that I could sleep easy with Declan Rice, but God forbid, you know, even he had a little back injury, didn't he? So it's scary hours, man, really. It's very, very, very scary hours. Nketiah is a traditional 9, one that we don't have. He only looks bad because we are not creating enough this season. Any striker will have a hard time. I just think Eddie Nketiah is limited. I think he's improving a lot, but I just think he's limited, and I think that's all right. I do think there's no in between with Eddie. I think some people are dishonest in a positive sense, and I think some people move like he's absolute bin juice, which isn't true. Is he someone that should be stepping in when Jesus isn't there? Probably not. You'd imagine he should be looking for a better striker, but I think Eddie's done well. I do agree with you that, you know, signing a striker doesn't really necessarily fix our problems. Playing for Arsenal should be a dream of a striker. You got Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, you know, in theory, Fabio Vieira, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, everyone apart from Kai Havertz. Sorry, Kai. You know, inverted fullbacks and the rest of it. But signing a striker doesn't fix our stuff because we're not creating. Conversion is an issue which a striker can address, but we're not creating like that. Even games we're burying sides, you know, even if we sign a striker, like whether you lot want Osimhen, Vlahovic, Tony, whatever, picture them up front at this club. Now, with the occasional half chances that they're presented, they might score, they might do a lot better, but will they really play to their true potential? Even if one of these players got 20 league goals, could it be a thing where they could have got 30. They could have got an extra 10 plus. So I think that is something Arteta needs to improve. I do think we've improved defensively, even though there's many gears to go up. I do think we've improved in the middle third. I do think we've improved off the ball. But I do think that has, and I like the repetition and the build-up play and how we actually connect the goalie to obviously the attacking third. But it does feel a bit scripted. And I do feel maybe our attacking players come at a cost of our improvements in the middle and defensive third. I don't know, though. Imagine we signed Barella instead of Kai. I mean, we could have signed Bearman instead of Kai, you know, really and truly. Until Kai Havertz shows anything, just taking Douglas Luiz, for example, you know, if Villa was saying 65 odd million for him and we paid what we paid for Havertz, you could have reckoned that was more value. Lavia hasn't kicked a ball for Chelsea, but you could have, you know, you could see more of a use there. Even out of all the Chelsea bargain buckets, you could have made a case for we needed to take Kovacic. I hope it works out for Havertz, but yeah, it is what it is. Arteta's going to have to hold that one. If Arsenal are really serious, we'd push for Barella or De Jong. I mean, I can't see us signing either of them, but again, summer. I love Kondogbia, Jacob Ramsey, and Tony would be perfect. Kondogbia, you think he's just 2012 or something? I think you got to give up with that one. Do you think Martinelli should be tried up front? I think so. Maybe not so much now, but I think it is something long-term for Martinelli to explore. Cesc Fabregas has taken a new coaching role, people. He's become head coach of Serie B's Como. So the revolution is being televised. You know, if Arteta was to walk tomorrow, Jabi Alonso, you need to take the hot spot. Cesc, you need to be groomed to one day take over this mantelpiece and things like that. Apparently, Gabriel Jesus joins up with Brazil squad despite injury concerns, says Simon Collins of The Standard. Apparently, he has travelled to Brazil for international duty despite not playing for Arsenal for nearly 3 weeks. As you know, he was injured against Sevilla on October the 24th. He has been undergoing rehab. He was called up last week for Brazil. They're playing Colombia and Argentina. Hey, don't play my guy. Listen, playing for your country is an honour. I can't begrudge anyone that wants to be selected, but as an ignorant, you know, person living in the United Kingdom, you know, once I hear Colombia and Argentina, those are big games. Those are physical games, especially Brazil versus Argentina. Brazil are going to kick the hell out of the attacking players from Argentina and vice versa. You got dons like Romero about. So I'm a bit scared, you know. In an ideal world, if he gets minutes, shake some of the cobwebs off and comes back to the Emirates, then great, people. But apparently Jesus will be assessed by Brazil's medical team and a decision will be made as to whether he can play. So do Brazil necessarily trust Arsenal's analysis of the player or what they've communicated? Because think about it logically. Put yourself in Arsenal's shoes. As I said, ideal world, everyone go off play for your countries. It's an honour. It's all of those things. But if you're Arsenal, do you overplay Gabriel Jesus' injury concerns in the hope that he stays obviously in London during this international period, rests up and goes again? If you're Brazil, obviously you don't want the player to be injured, but you don't necessarily care about what happens with Arsenal. You know, if the player is fit, you want to have the luxury of selecting him. And, you know, the Brazil manager is well within his rights for such. So I don't really know, people. But for what it's worth, he'll be assessed. Under FIFA rules, Brazil are entitled to call up Jesus and assess him themselves, as England did with Bakayo last month. So it is what it is. That, however, was a different situation, as Saka merely had to drive up from London to England's base at St. George's Park, whereas Jesus has flown to Brazil. When naming his Brazil squad last Monday, Fernando Diniz, who's quite a decent gaffer, hinted they would call up Jesus to assess themselves. In the last call-up, we didn't call up Martinelli from Arsenal. He didn't report to the CBF, Brazil Football Federation, in a very complete way. So we didn't imagine, that Martinelli would be ready to play against Venezuela and Uruguay, and he was ready to play before our games. Because of this, we are going to bring Gabriel Jesus to find out the real conditions, because we still have 15 days until the games. So we believe he can be able to play, because I like him a lot. We have 24 players on the list, and if something happens to him, we won't need to change the squad. So that just tells me he's called up the dons that he really wants to work with. So we'll have to see, man. Hopefully there's no setbacks. On Martin Odegaard, I don't know if we actually went over this, but Mikel Arteta said, I'm going to have a meeting with the medical department to understand everybody's situation. And I think he's going to be back after the international break, but I don't know exactly what the decision and communication at the moment. Allegedly, he hasn't been called up. We will be playing FM. I'll probably be live at 5, slightly later than we normally are, man. But the show must continue. So that's Odegaard. We've been linked with Julian Brandt once again of Borussia Dortmund. I like him a lot. I just wonder physically, are you the guy really and truly? I've got a lot of these Marga man at Arsenal who can play football, but they're not really tugs. I don't mind Brandt really, but I don't really know how it fixes stuff. You're not a pure central midfielder. You're a typical Arsenal player that you can play a bunch of roles, technically brilliant, all of that stuff. But I think we need to address central midfield, guys that are going to play instead or in place or with the Parteys, the Rices, the Jorginhos. We've got a lot of these guys who are very technically sound and can play everywhere. According to reports, Borussia Dortmund midfielder Brandt is being considered for a possible move by Arsenal and Newcastle. That's what the Mirror is saying. But he's under contract until 2026 and hasn't signed a new deal, people. Apparently, despite Dortmund's refusal to entertain any offers for a man they inquired for 22 million. So what's his asking price? Again, I can't see the need for it. I'm not against it. Romano has said Arsenal are going to look again into the midfielders market in January after Thomas's injury. I understand Douglas Luiz remains the favourite option in Arsenal's list since long time. Arsenal love him, but ambitious Aston Villa want to keep Douglas. So there you have that. Let's start closing these tabs because they're even doing my head in, people say. Yeah, let's keep going. Douglas Luiz is Arsenal's top target. He's considered the perfect midfielder by people at Arsenal. They would love to sign him, says Romano. Arsenal could offer Smith Rowe in a cash plus player deal with Aston Villa for their 25-year-old Brazilian midfielder Douglas Luiz. Now, this is where I start to doubt it. Now, obviously, Aston Villa have wanted Smith Rowe before. We haven't hidden the fact that we want Douglas Luiz. So is it a case of creative journalism? I guess in general, you could offer him, but how much is he going to knock off the price? Because Smith Rowe is a depreciating asset at this moment. Can't stay fit, ain't in the England team, isn't in Arsenal's strongest team, and is currently injured, really. Maybe if you just pay them what they want and let him go on loan, then great. Because if he goes to Aston Villa on loan and shows the Emil Smith Rowe for all his quality, then you could obviously sell him in the summer, which could happen with him and Ramsdale for a decent fee. So I'm not too sure on that. Apparently, Aston Villa have placed a 60 million valuation on Douglas Luiz. Luiz is interested in a move to a top club, and the law of Champions League football is believed to be something he's finding hard to ignore. Arsenal will make an attempt to complete a deal in January, folks. Apparently, Aston Villa consider Douglas Luiz, who is represented by Kai Jarutkin, as a crucial player for their project. Only a crazy huge offer will be considered in January, so Arsenal will have to invest a lot of money to land their top midfield target. Trust me, man. Brandt is doing for Dortmund what Kai should be doing for you, man. Would be an admission of regret from Arteta if the move materializes. I hear it. I think my man has never watched Vinicius Jr. and Rodrigo. I hear that. Also, that Fofana guy plays in France. Listen, we need midfielders, whether they're going to be the Douglas Luiz and relative household names or they're lesser known. We need to get something. Edu needs to get something because obviously things could happen. But last time I checked, definitely when he signed for Arsenal and Edu as well, you are both central midfielders. This should be the one area where there's confirmation over. Apparently, several clubs are monitoring Genoa's left back Miguel Gutierrez as he's performing at a great level in La Liga. Arsenal have also recently sent scouts to track Gutierrez in recent weeks. He's currently under contract until 2027, folks. Once again, people on Douglas Luiz, Romano said Douglas Luiz is top of Arsenal's list as they explore the midfielder market. However, it's important to clarify at this point there is no asking price because Villa insists they want to keep Douglas in January. He's a key player for them, so it would take an important bid for Arsenal to convince Villa and to sign Douglas in Jan. It's not easy, but for sure he remains one of the top names in the list for that position. He's considered a top player, folks. Romano spoken on Sasha Boy. Another player linked with Arsenal is Galatasaray's right back Sasha Boy. He spoke in an interview recently about the Gunners holding talks to sign him during the summer, though he says they never made an official bid. Honestly, though, I'm told Arsenal were never in concrete talks for any fullback as they signed Timber as their priority target to cover different positions. So with Boy, it is nothing concrete, nothing advanced. Many clubs are following Boy for the future, but it's not something we can describe as a deal or negotiations. There you have that. As an op, get Douglas. If I was Arsenal, Zubimendi is the best signing. That guy's too good. City might get him. To be fair with you, you can see why with every game Zubimendi draws admirers, really. If you haven't hit the like button, make sure you're doing such. On the topic of Zubimendi, Romano has said on the Sociedad midfielder, Zubimendi is another player really appreciated by Mikel Arteta, and he looks perfect for their project. But from what I'm hearing, the player is very happy at his current club and not thinking about moving at the moment. He also has a 60 million euros release clause, so it's another target who wouldn't come cheap. And last January, did we not see that he didn't want to leave mid-season? Southgate on Ramsdale's situation. I think longer term, we're just going to have to see how it is. If we get to March and he's 6 months without playing regularly, I'm never going to promise things that I couldn't guarantee delivering. I spoke to him and he knows that. So maybe Ramsdale was getting cold feet and thinking, I need to get out of Arsenal in January. Me personally, Ramsdale, my heart bleeds for you. You know, I'm sure you're a top professional, you're a great guy, but I don't care about your England aspirations. You deal with, if you want to cut, you cut in the summer, you're staying. You can't play for 2 games in the season at this moment in time. You know, Raya can't play against Brentford. I don't care about your individual stuff. You need to stay. You know, again, Arsenal are probably going to, in my opinion, in the summer, if nothing changes, Ramsdale's gone. They'll probably find a number 2 more closer aligned to what Arteta wants and someone who's quote unquote happier to sit there. But it don't really make sense. And to be fair, Southgate's a bit bewildering with some of the comments he makes. Like how Raheem Sterling's not in the squad, I don't know. And then big up Cole Palmer and Rico Lewis because they deserve it. But then you're being a hypocrite, really. None of it makes sense, really. Calvin Phillips, don't know why Benjamin White's not there. Big up Southgate, but you're crazy, man. On Emil Smith Rowe, Aston Villa, Everton, Crystal Palace, and Newcastle are all interested in him. Allegedly, Arsenal value him at 30 million euros, which is far too cheap, people. Apparently, Arsenal made a strong attempt to sign Lautaro Martinez previously, and Mikel Arteta is still a big fan, according to sources. Okay. The Argentine striker has seen his value rise significantly since then, and Inter would take some convincing to let him go. It's going to cost stupid amounts of money. You get what you pay for, but you'd imagine Osimhen, Martinez, Vlahovic, potentially Tony, everyone's going to be after these guys come the summer market. And isn't Lautaro in talks to sign a new deal at Inter? So I'm not too sure. Again, Inter Milan have already met with agent of Argentina World Cup winner for contact extension talks. There you have it. We were previously linked with him. Apparently he rejected us when we failed to qualify for the Champions League. But apparently in February earlier this year, he was keen on moving to Arsenal. So it all depends where you read, essentially. And the times where we was going for Gabriel Jesus, the Athletic did say, you know, he was one of the names we're monitoring. Victor Osimhen, Lautaro Martinez, Gianluca Scamacca, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and Tammy Abraham. Since time has passed on, I mean, Scamacca, I don't know why Moyes wasn't using you, but you're a decent player. Out of all these guys, obviously we've got Jesus. He's only 2 for me. It's either Lautaro Martinez or Osimhen. I like Tammy Abraham. I don't think Calvert-Lewin's a bad player. Arsenal tax with all the injuries you've got, save. Tammy Abraham, I don't think you, pardon me, I think you can get goals, but I don't think you transform us to the way we need. Scamacca, it's a no from me. It's one or the two, but we ain't going to get them, man. Really and truly. Once again, Dortmund's midfielder Julian Brandt's wanted by Arsenal and Newcastle. Barcelona are leading to the race to sign 18-year-old Gabriel Moscardo ahead of Arsenal and Chelsea. And as we know, Chelsea made a bid for him in the summer market, people. Arsenal are ready to put their move for a striker on hold until the end of the season and concentrate on signing a new midfielder, but will operate to a tight budget to ensure they stay within FFP guidelines and could look to sell a player to supplement their budget, allegedly. Romano on Partey, who is now obviously injured, people. When's the next England under-17s match, DG? Tomorrow, I believe, at 12 p.m. Or is it Wednesday? Let me actually look. I'm pretty sure it's tomorrow. I could be wrong. Let me see. No, yeah, tomorrow at 12 p.m. versus Iran. And to be fair, that's a good little group. You got Brazil, England next after that game, and Iran beat Brazil. And Brazil better than them technically, but they couldn't cope with the intensity and the energy levels Iran had. Obviously, England won 10-0 in their first game. You know, our boy Ethan scored and technically got an assist. I can't remember if Miles got an assist, but he definitely watched the game. He won a penalty. There's a bunch of good players there, man. Really good bunch of players there. Romano has said Juventus were interested in Thomas Partey last summer, but then Arsenal decided to keep him. I'm not expecting big movements for Partey in January. I'm told Juventus want more offensive players in midfield than Thomas. I'm still told Mikel Arteta considers Thomas an important player, despite recent reports from Italy that the Ghana international could look to leave. I mean, spanner in the works with your latest injury. Once again, Zubimendi is another player really appreciated by Mikel Arteta, and he looks perfect for the project. But from what I'm hearing, the player is very happy at his current club and not thinking about moving at the moment, says Romano, people. Once again, we've gone over that. Big up Trossard. I don't know why that's here, but he said on Bukayo Saka, he said, I don't know why, but every time B is on the ball, I just know I need to make a movement or come close to him. In this moment against Burnley, I just gambled on him winning the header, and he did. That's why I got the goal today. Best footballers are the best thinkers, and long may it continue, Trossard. We've gone over Benjamin White. We've gone over Martin Odegaard. Trossard spoke on his goal against Burnley. In the moment, I headed the ball. I tried to protect myself, but I hit the post with my forearm, and it was really painful, but it's okay. The pain has calmed down. It's always nice to score a goal. Of course, that helps your team to win a game, and that's what we did today. So it's really important to go into the international break like this, and we've done it. Big up Trossard, man. We've gone over that. I mean, in relation to Andre, he's been linked with Fulham aggressively. Once again, I won't bore you with that. Football Insider allegedly has said Arsenal wanted to sell Thomas Partey in January, but his thigh injury means he may remain with the club beyond the winter window. And Arsenal star January transfer away is a possibility due to key issue, according to Romano, says Ramsdale. Bro, Ramsdale, if they put up the money, why not? But forget all of that, man. Apparently, he said I think it's a possibility because he's not playing, but it's not guaranteed as well. It's not easy. Goalkeepers usually move when there's a domino effect, and at the moment, we're not seeing that effect. And in January transfer window, clubs are not usually changing their keepers. Ramsdale wants to play more. From what I've heard, he's also prepared to fight for his place. I can also guarantee he's not a target for Chelsea. They're not going to sign a keeper in Jan. And even that, like I think Ramsdale's going to go Newcastle. But is it confirmed that you're going to necessarily, if you did go there, play over Pope? If you go to Chelsea, you've got Sanchez. If you stay at Arsenal, you've obviously got Raya. Where are you going to go? I don't know. I wouldn't let him go in January. I think it'd be silly. Apparently, Victor Osimhen reveals he owns 2 Premier League kits as Liverpool join Chelsea and Arsenal in transfer race. I mean, who said any of these teams are interested in Osimhen? He said, I don't have a favourite Premier League team, but I have 2 jerseys, Chelsea and Manchester United. So you're going to end up at Chelsea, aren't you? Many of my friends are Chelsea fans, few are United fans. So they're the ones telling you to sign for their clubs. The Premier League is the most appreciated league by every African player. It's a huge league. I mean, we tried to get you when you were 17. Tony is believed to be of interest, but could cost 80 to 100 million. If you're going to spend that for Tony, then for me, you might as well go for him. Apparently, Osimhen is another potential option for the Gunners, although Sunsport revealed Liverpool sent scouts to watch the Napoli ace while he was on international duty. United are also said to be interested in Osimhen as they're targeting an experienced forward to help out Højlund. And apparently, if he is to leave, it's a fee upwards of 100 million. So we're going to see. I reckon Ramsdale goes to Bayern. True, but how long? You know, I know Manuel Neuer's got a big injury and he's on the decline, but like, when does he fall off? It could listen. I could not begrudge Aaron Ramsdale if you want to go to Bayern Munich. I'm sure you can WhatsApp Harry Kane and he'll tell you how great it is and all of that stuff. But yeah, man, it could be that. But are Bayern going to overpay? Because whether he's worth it or not, I genuinely think Ramsdale should be getting us 50 odd million. I don't think 50 million is crazy in today's day and age. Certain man spent it on Sigurdsson. That's a healthy profit on what we spent on him. He's still a young keeper for whatever you say. His stature has grown since he signed for Arsenal Football Club. And Arsenal need to get better at selling. Like, obviously, I think we're taking a step in the right direction with incomings and outgoings. You know, under Mikel Arteta, definitely in the last 18 months, we've had more hits to miss ratios. He's still, you know, obviously Willian, Pablo Marie, currently Kai Havertz. There's been some duds, but the successes, the Trossards, the Ramsdales, the Benjamin Whites, you know, Raya looks okay. Obviously, Declan Rice, everyone knew that would work. Gabriel Jesus, etc., etc. They're all added something. But outgoings, what real significant outgoings have Arsenal done? Like, cool, we sold Iwobi for a good fee and big him up. He's still playing at a good level. The same goes for Joe Willock. Balogun got sold for a decent fee. Could do a lot better. Like, I rate Kieran Tierney, but there's got to be a reason as to why he hasn't left. It became clear that you're not in Arteta's plans. There was no permanent offers, or there were no permanent offers to the stature that Arsenal wanted. You've gone on loan. We're going to have to deal with that next summer. You know, Tavares, he's not off the books. Lokonga's not off the books. So and who are these guys? You know, we need to get better at selling, but these guys are not going to bring in significant fees, which is why I believe, obviously, things might not happen. But Thomas Partey earns a lot of money. I'm not pocket watching. I don't really care what Partey earns, but he's on the wrong side of 30. You're never confident the man's always going to be fit. We need to sign a midfielder. I think getting rid of Partey shaves some significant wages off the wage bill. Ramsdale's a chance, and maybe potentially Smith Rowe as well, a chance to get in decent fees for players, really, if that makes sense. So I have to see. Osimhen, I would prefer to Terry. I think you mean Tony. Just don't think it will happen, to be honest. If we got Osimhen, he'd give us options because he can play out wide and cut in or up top. I can't lie. If we sign Osimhen and he's playing out wide, I'll tell you, you're doing it wrong. Brentford want for Tony what Spurs got for Kane. I mean, they know in their heart you're not going to get that, innit? Like, obviously, I think personally, Brentford, they don't want to sell Tony in January. It's like, in an ideal world, nobody wants to buy or sell any players in January. They don't want to get rid of Tony. You know, they're losing 2 of their, I believe, in Buemo and Wisa, they'll be going off to the Africa Cup of Nations in Jan, so they won't have anyone but Tony. So, you know, I'm sure they might even bring in a player. They know Tony's got 18 months left on his deal, 12 months from the summer. They know they're going to have to sell him in the summer, whether that's to Arsenal, Man United, Spurs, wherever, really. You know, there's a shortage of quality strikers. Obviously, Tony hit 20 league goals, and who knows where he'd be at this moment in time. And I personally think Tony's too much of a risk in January. On one hand, I'm having Tony tomorrow. I think there's a lot of qualities, but you know, even for 65 odd million, that could be better invested in the summer to attempt to go for the Vlahovic's who Arteta aggressively tried to get, or put that towards putting 100 million down or so on Osimhen, who's going to have a year left on his deal, 2025, unless something changes from now till then at Napoli. But I think Brentford are within their rights to demand top money. Everyone in the Premier League knows people got money. He's got 18 months left on his deal and he's got a new agent. And I'm sure he wants to take the step up in his career. Brentford seem to do well with strikers, really. You know, they once upon a time had Neil Maupay still playing Premier League football. Ollie Watkins is going from strength to strength at Aston Villa. He was over there. Tony didn't work out for him at Newcastle after joining, I believe, from Northampton. Went Peterborough or something like that. Started bagging in the lower leagues and gone from strength to strength. So, yeah, man, really. And even with Tony, I think it's too much of a risk, if I'm honest, because you're going to spend a lot of money that could be invested in elsewhere. I want a striker and a winger at Arsenal, but our focus, for me anyways, needs to be in bringing a midfield option. And Tony's, you know, yeah, he's playing a couple behind closed doors friendlies and stuff like that, but he's not played for 8 months. There's no guarantee he's going to hit the ground running just in terms of fitness. Obviously, he's going to need to be given that luxury of adapting to what Arteta, if he signed for Arsenal or anyone else, demands of him individually and collectively. I just can't see it really and truly. We need a team player, not a selfish player. I want a selfish striker. There needs to be a balance. Any striker that isn't selfish ain't really a striker. They're all selfish. There you go. Tony is all they got. Midfield will definitely need a revamp in the summer with Jorginho, Partey, and El Neni leaving in the summer. We'll just be left with Rice, Havertz, Fabio Vieira, and Smith Rowe. A lot of guys that can play rotating eights, but it's a myth. It sucks that we'll have to move on without Partey. Time waits for no one. I didn't know Osimhen could play out wide personally. We'd be wrong to go for Tony. He's like Nketiah in how he plays. Every striker is greedy though, like to a slight degree. I don't mind Nketiah being greedy. I want my strikers to be greedy. Now, obviously, football's a simple game. And the toughest thing to do in football is make the right decisions, especially in the final third. Pass when you need to pass, shoot when you need to shoot. That's where Eddie Nketiah struggles. Every striker is selfish, really. Kane's selfish. He still shows the ability to weigh in with assists. Tony's selfish. Still shows the ability to contribute general play. I think that's very harsh. Any striker that isn't selfish ain't a real goal-getter. Henry, to a degree, Shearer, all of these top strikers, Van Nistelrooy, they're all selfish. Be as selfish as you want. I think we need to go from a team that, last year got 80-odd goals to 100. And that turns some defeats into draws, some draws into victories, ultimately more points on the board, man. Do you think if we get midfielders, I do think it'll be people under the radar. I think January is going to be that case. I think it's going to be a case of, you know, Jorginho had a foot out the door, Trossard had a foot out the door, Kirill weren't the most of expensive purchases, and they've all done well. But I think that's what we're going to do. I don't think we're going to have any big tickets January signings. Who knows, man? Scroll the way back, man. We've covered that. I apologize, but we've covered that. But I don't really think Pep Guardiola said anything, really. The headline kind of got me. It sounded a lot more exciting than it actually was, if I'm honest. But with that being said, folks, it's been here for 40 minutes. I enjoy you lot's conversation, but I just don't want to bore you lot anymore. So, yeah, check out the rest of the videos. Appreciative of you lot tuned in across Twitch and YouTube. It means the world. Twitch gang, within the next half an hour, we will be playing Football Manager as well. So make sure you're there for that. Tomorrow on Twitch, we will be watching England's under-17s as well against Iran. And any other content or talking points or things to make people, I'll get them out for you. I need to actually make thumbnails for a couple of my ranking videos. You'll always get onto me to do ranking videos. I've done a couple of them. I'm working on a piece around Zinchenko and Odegaard. So, yeah, man, there's always content, international break or not. Hope you lot had a great stream with myself. Hope you lot are enjoying your day and whatever you lot are doing. Stay safe, stay blessed. Subscribe, smash the like button, leave a comment after and all that good stuff. Peace.
So it's always just that active and defending. I think it's like